The NBA Championship, the Larry O'Brien Trophy, the absolute pinnacle of basketball achievements reserved only for the greatest of basketball players. And PJ Tucker. There have been countless NBA players to achieve this feat, and it feels like a career necessity if you want to be considered a great. Yet still, despite playing out incredible careers for literal decades, there remains a small group of NBA greats who never quite managed to reach coveted champion status. Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, and Steve Nash come to mind now, but this video is to see which current NBA stars will come to mind 10, 15, hell 20 years down in the future. Right now in the NBA, we have a crazy amount of career stars, MVP candidates, MVPs, and even Hall of Fame caliber players that are still ringless. And so, out of the 7 that are nearing the end of their primes and careers, I've made a tier list ranging from guaranteed champs to hell no, in order for us to decide which of these players will reach NBA glory and who will fall short of their ultimate goal. Real quick, thank you all for the insane support we've been getting recently. The love in the comments has been crazy, and if you're one of that 99.8% of viewers that aren't subscribed, I'd appreciate if you do that, because I post these videos every week, and I also literally obliterated my phone to like 10 million pieces making this video. So, anyways, let's begin. Damian Lillard is a really interesting player to rank in this way because right now he's already past UNC status and his numbers have declined from the garbage minutes he was getting in Portland to actually playing competitive basketball in Milwaukee. With his low efficiency offensive based game, I think it's safe to say Milwaukee is really Dame's last shot to win a championship as a key contributor. And the question really boils down to, can the big four of Dame, Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Chris Middleton's fucked up hairline beat the Boston Celtics within the next 2 to 3 years? And I think the answer is for sure a yes. Look, I understand this core is old and Dame won't be here long enough for their young pieces to develop, not to mention the fact that Milwaukee would rather explode than develop a young MarJon Beauchamp. But this core has won a championship before, and Middleton is an insanely underrated playoff riser. Look at his numbers from last series. The only reason they didn't make it deeper in the playoffs last season was because Giannis was hurt, and now the only thing holding them back is Doc Rivers and Chris Middleton's caveman cranium. Holy fuck. Boston does look unbeatable now, I will give you that, but they aren't lasting forever, and I think if Dame can pull one last magical series from his bag of tricks and provide the offensive pressure that the Bucks lacked back in 2022, I think they can get the job done. For those reasons, I'll put my boy Dame Dollar comfortably in the 100% tier to start off this list. James Harden will go down as one of the most talented basketball players of our generation, but he has proven time and time again that he is an expensive mess that only kills championship teams. I mean, look at his career ever since his days in Houston. He killed the Nets by eating like Zion and then sentenced them to the worst punishment in NBA history. 4 years of Ben Simmons. He then went to the 76ers and he had his moments, but when push came to shove, his ass got shoved and left the choker trinity of himself, Embiid, and Doc Rivers for the bright lights of LA. And ever since touching down in LA, his numbers have dropped significantly despite seeing similar minutes. And now that leaves our boy James Harden stuck in a stacked Western Conference with a city who wants nothing to do with him, a team who wants nothing to do with him, and a teammate who wants nothing to do with basketball in general. I mean, come on, Kawhi. Why'd you leave Team USA? I wanted to see you play. Not fair. Harden and the Clippers are going nowhere, and he'll be back in free agency at the ripe old age of 37. And if you ask me, a 37-year-old shot chucker on a max contract does not seem like a recipe for a championship on any team. But hey, he's a serial ring chaser, so who knows? Maybe if he manages to leave the Clippers for a contending team and accept a lesser role in payday, he could retire a champion. Yeah, it doesn't seem likely. For his sheer ring-chasing ways, though, I'll put James Harden smack dab in the middle of probably not tier. Russell Westbrook has a problem, and it's one that's cost him a championship his entire career, and that is that teams fail to understand and incorporate his value because it's constantly changing. Let me break it down for you. Russ's early career role as that second option in OKC was the perfect situation for him, and they probably should have and could have come away with the championship from that core. But ever since KD left, Russ was made the focal point of that offense for the Thunder and immediately won MVP as his ball dominance skyrocketed. And despite his unfathomable 37, 12, and 11 averages in that season's playoffs, they got gentlemen swept by the Rockets because, say it with me folks, you can't win a championship with Andre Roberson as your second best player. Good. And thus started the illustrious cycle of where Russ was in the wrong fit. The next year they brought in PG and Melo, expecting Russ and Steven Adams to be their sole defense, and if you can't already tell, that's not how the slowed down playoff basketball atmosphere works. They lost in the first round again. Russ was in the wrong fit. The next year rolled around, and to solve their issue of defense and pacing in the playoffs, they came to the perfect solutions: Jeremy Grant and Dennis Schroeder. Yeah, they deserve this shot just for that bullshit ass roster. And yet again, Russ was in the wrong fit. 2020 rolled around and Russ was on his way to the Houston Rockets, where they wanted him back to his second option role that he succeeded with under OKC. He saw less touches and he was less dominant and in control of the ball, and that proved to be a horrible idea. It failed instantly and Russ was in the wrong fit. And then the Wizards GM saw this disaster and was like, okay, Russ, come and be our first option. Unfortunately, they didn't realize that first option Russ with the greater scorer as his second option and literally no defense was already a team. And this is what happened to them. They lost in 5 games. But the Wizards GM ignored all this and got Russ anyway, and what do you know? They also lost in 5 games? Russ was in the wrong fit. The Lakers failed with Russ because he was in the wrong fit yet again, but for the Clippers, for a small minute there, a toned-down role leading the second unit and not forcing him to shoot the ball, he found genuine success. Until they blew that shit up by getting Harden. And so now, here in the great year of 2024, the Nuggets saw that glimmer of resurgence from Russ in the 2023 playoffs, and they've just acquired him for next season. In this new age of parity in the NBA, the only sign of ever coming in contention for a championship really boils down to experience late in these playoff runs, and the Nuggets have that more than really any other team. Yeah, Russ can't shoot for shit, but he doesn't need to do that on this Nuggets team because he's literally surrounded by shooters, and it's not like the Rockets where he was draining the offense by taking every single minute and completely eliminating the perimeter. He is going to be coming off the bench for this team. For once, I think Russ is actually in the right fit. And I think in the coming years, the Nuggets will definitely be back in the finals. Regardless if he wins with them, his experience there will give other teams the blueprint to use him in the right way. A veteran spark plug to lead that second unit. And regardless of where he ends up, he will soon hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy. Easy 100% tier. I'll cover these two at the same time because after all, they are teammates now, and will that affect them winning a ring? No. You may be thinking, what? Of course they'll win a ring together. They've got 4 more years to make a run. Tyrese Maxey will be developing there the entire time and the East is wide open. No, because if you think that, I think you're severely underestimating the sheer ability to choke that Joel Embiid possesses. I mean, that shit's generational. I think the 76ers will be good, and they'll for sure break the conference finals mold with this core, but PG is old and regressing, Embiid is injury prone, and if they don't win a championship within the next 2, maybe 3 seasons, this core will get torched by much more talented teams. Teams like the up-and-coming Magic and the up-and-coming Pacers, so let's take a look back at that 2 to 3 year window they have. The 76ers would have to overcome teams like the Celtics, Bucks, and Knicks to escape the East and then meet whatever powerhouse monster team managed to escape the jungle-level Western Conference on the other side of the bracket. You can easily make this same argument for the Bucks, but something about an older superstar with a bit of a choker history in the playoffs with the perennial playoff choker and being bombarded by super team after super team doesn't seem like a recipe for a championship. But I can see PG-13 as a great veteran ring chaser once his contract is up, whilst Embiid's playstyle and injury history will make him worthless with anyone other than the Sixers later down the line. So for those reasons, I'll put Embiid in the probably not tier just in case the PG experiment works, and I'll put Paul George in the 50-50 tier because who knows what will happen to him post-Philly. Alright, next up on the list we got Rajon Rondo and hell no. Next question. Jimmy Butler is the final player on this list and definitely the one I had the most difficulty gauging. Let's be honest here, despite the Heat culture, despite the insane capabilities of playoff Jimmy Butler, despite the masterpiece that was tomfoolery 2023 Heat, every team has a window and the Heat's window is starting to close. To put it simply, the East isn't as weak as it was a few years ago for them just to steamroll through, and they don't have enough talent to compete. On top of that, they've already fumbled the insane trade value that Tyler Hero had just a few seasons ago, effectively making them locked into this mediocre roster until Jimmy's contract ends at the ripe age of 37. From there, with the absolute competitor he is, I can see Jimmy making moves to go get himself a ring, and I can honestly see him making significant contributions to a championship run, but I think he'll simply run out of steam, run out of time, and retire ringless. Even as a Timberwolves fan myself, I absolutely love Jimmy Butler. He's one of my all-time favorite players, and I wasn't even mad when he dogged on our starters with the bench dudes because we deserved that shit. But his days of carrying mediocre Heat rosters to the NBA Finals are over in the Eastern Conference of today, and beyond that, I don't think the stars will align for him to ever hold that Larry O'Brien trophy. For those reasons, I'll be regretfully placing Jimmy Butler in the hell no tier. This is the final tier list, and looking at it now, I'm not too confident about it, but only time will tell how these takes will play out. Let me know if you guys want to see a part 2 with young players, and comment whether you think my takes are valid, or if I'm an idiot that should never open his mouth ever again. Alright, well, I've got to go get my phone fixed, so I'll see you all in next week's video, and in the meantime, subscribe. It's free.